for tuning in. You are watching in the studio. I'm going to be your host, Lynn Weaver. The program is brought to you by Davis Media Access, and it broadcasts on Davis Community Television. That's Comcast Channel 15 and AT&T UVerse Menu 99. We're also online at dctv.davismedia.org. Well, today I have two special guests, and we're going to talk about the University Farm Circle. Joining me are the co-presidents of the University Farm Circle, Sheila Beyer and Linda Ziskind.
Hello.
Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us. I'm delighted that you're here because I think we're going to learn a lot more about University Farm Circle. Now, Linda, I would like to start by commenting on the fact that 2014 is a very it's a landmark year for you, for the University Farm Circle. Could you fill us in a little bit about what's happening in 2014?
It is indeed a landmark occasion. University Farm Circle became 100 years old on February 14th. It was founded in February of 1914.
My goodness.
And so it's 100 years old.
Before the First World War.
That's right. So we are really honored to be co-presidents at a time like this. Very honored.
That's wonderful. Are you planning, Sheila, perhaps, are you planning any special events to mark this centenary?
Yes, we have 4 special events. One has already happened. We had a wonderful luncheon on February 14th, the exact date.
Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Yes.
And it was very well attended, and we made it coincide with the decades.
Mm-hmm.
Through the 100 years, we had vignettes where they showed certain things that people wore during each decade, and also some of the things that were in use during that time.
Yes, when you say vignettes, were they live people impersonating some of these 100-year people ago, or were they just drawings or reprints?
Actually, the clothing was real.
Oh, my goodness.
But we made mannequins.
Lovely.
And put them on
yes.
that.
Yes.
And we used jewelry and accessories that were 100 years old.
Yes.
So it's amazing what people save nowadays.
Yes, well, it is. And of course, the contribution came from your members, most of them, or
Yes.
from yourselves. I don't know if you had great-great-grandmothers. Perhaps this is a good time, Linda, to show, perhaps if you can hold up one of the photographs that you have
A wonderful
there.
article in the local newspaper telling about our celebration, and 2 of our members who were wearing clothes in a particular decade.
Oh, I see. Well,
lovely.
those are not, this is not a century-old
No,
photograph.
but see, you
I
thought
see.
so.
Yes.
That's a good thing. This is the way many of our members looked on that day.
Especially the hats.
The hats.
Of course.
The hats were wonderful.
Yes.
Yes.
But we still have 3 more events coming up.
Great. Could you tell us about them?
Sure. We have our Intercampus Day, where our sister organizations from the 4 other northern UC schools will be coming to see what we're doing here on our campus.
Well, that's lovely. And does this coincide with Picnic Day?
We will also be in the parade for Picnic Day.
Okay.
And I understand it's 100th Picnic Day too. So
Oh, is it really?
So 100 years is really going to be celebrated.
Yes.
And then at the end of May, we're having a Golden Gala, which is going to be a fun event, listening to music throughout the 100 years, and also a very classy event too, at the Arc Ballrooms.
Very nice.
Yes, with fine dining and music for dancing.
Oh,
It should be
very
lovely.
nice. Well, of course, the viewers can find a lot more information on the website, which is ufc.org, right?
Yes.
No,
No,
it's
www.
It's ufcdavis.org.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it will display on our screen, and
Yes.
yes, so you can find a lot more information there. Now, Linda, why do you think what is the University Farm Circle, first of all, and then how did it come about? And do you know? I know that you brought a book, the history, but perhaps you can give us a little summary of what happened 100 years ago.
Well, 100 years ago, and the name when it was founded was University Farm Circle, simply because Davis had the university farm for Berkeley, and a small group of women came, and in those days anybody who had a group, whether it was quilting, sewing, they were a circle. So here we had the University Farm Circle, a group of women that came to Davis, and they were very few students, most of them male, and they decided that they needed to make sure these boys were not homesick and they were taken care of for the holidays and had food to eat and financial assistance when they needed it. And this is basically how it sort of came around, so that, and the circle has remained, that name has continued until this present day.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, and of course, just a reminder for our viewers, UC Davis was part of Berkeley at the time.
That's right.
It was the farm, the agricultural faculty, and then it wasn't until much later that it separated from Berkeley. So these ladies and the students probably were very homesick here in the fields.
That's right.
As compared to being in Berkeley or San
That's
Francisco.
right. And the ladies also, they came from other larger cities and suddenly found themselves in this little town with very little to do. So being together, they felt less lonely,
Yes.
less homesick, and they felt that by doing for others,
Yes.
they would feel better. And that's what's happened, and we're still supporting students, and from a handful of women, we are now over 500 members.
I was going to ask you, 500 members.
Over 500.
And do you allow men to become member, or is it just the women?
It's the
circle?
women.
It's the women.
It's
I
the
see.
women.
I see.
But we have many activities in which
The
spouses or
husbands
significant
and-
others can
yes,
join
and,
us.
And the spouses,
Yes.
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 But it is a circle of women.
It
yes.
is a women's group.
Well, that's great. So now let's, now that we know a little bit more about the University Farm Circle, and we know why it's called the University Farm Circle, I'm going to ask you, Sheila, you are the co-president for 2000, for this year or next year?
No,
How does it work? Are you?
we go with the academic year,
I see.
so it's 2013, 2014.
I see. And how did you become involved? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your background, and how you came to Davis? Or yes.
Okay, my husband and I retired and came to Davis. Our children and grandchildren live in Oakland,
I see.
but we wanted a college atmosphere. So we came 7 years ago from Cleveland, Ohio, and I didn't know a soul. And I knew that in order to make friends, you need to be active, to volunteer, to meet people in different organizations.
Certainly, yes.
So I saw the article that comes out in the newspaper in August that showed there was going to be a newcomer's welcome at someone's home in September. So I went to it, and I was just amazed at all the things that University Farm Circle provides to people.
Yes, and we'll go a little more into the activities and the groups, the specialized groups that you have, because that's also a very interesting part of your circle. And so are you nominated to become president? Is it a popular vote?
There is a nominating committee.
I see, yes.
And they wanted me to be president. And I felt that this was such an important year because the anniversary.
That's right.
That I needed to have a cohort along with me, and I picked one of my very good friends, Linda.
The best.
She's very talented, and she was on a lot of different committees and things in Farm Circle.
So you could share some of the tasks.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I asked her, and the board thought that was a good idea. And so here we are, and we've done about 2/3 of our year, and we are better friends than ever. So it has.
Well, I'm glad you added that, because I was going to ask you.
It's been wonderful, actually,
Yes.
working together. We do
Yes.
spend a lot of time together.
Yes.
On the phone, at meetings, emails, a lot of
and
time.
it's crucial that you work very well
work
as a
together.
team. Yes. Well, Linda, I'm going to come to you. So, how do you happen to land in Davis and become part of the University Farm Circle? And do you have other activities outside the circle? Tell us a little more about yourself.
Well, my family and I arrived here in 1982, actually, from Boston, Massachusetts.
Yes, I know.
Last place we lived was Lexington, Massachusetts, that you know.
Did you live in Lexington?
Yes.
Oh my
yes.
goodness, we'll have to talk about that,
Okay.
because I spent time in Lexington too.
We
Yes.
came here from Lexington, and my husband actually came here for work, and there was an organization, Freedom from Hunger is here, and he came to work
Yes.
with them.
Yes.
And I was fortunate to be at the University Library, at Shields Library, and so we've been here for quite a while, and I was involved at the time, with also International Friendship Circle, which was a part of the University Farm
Yes.
Circle.
Yes,
So
that's
I was
right.
very active in those early years with that program, which was
Yes.
wonderful.
It was, and it still continues, I
It
believe.
still continues.
Yes.
It's a different venue, not
Yes.
as large, but that's where I started with, and meeting women from all over the world. And we were also helping students
Lovely, yes.
with English, with showing them how to shop. Many of the wives at that time that came as wives of students did
Yes.
not speak any English,
Yes.
and they
Well,
had
this
nothing
is
to
still
do.
the case, you know, and they have programs to free language conversation,
Correct.
English lessons, and so
That's
on.
right.
So I didn't know, though, that you were associated, and then at
They
some
were
point
under
there
its
was a
wing.
separation. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
I see. Well, that's very interesting. So, so you just became a member, and then.
No, not right away. Those
Not
days
right
I
away.
was busy with the family, and as I said, with International Friendship Circle. But then later, about 7 years ago, a neighbor of mine who was going to be the next president of Farm Circle
Yes.
said, "You ought to join us." She says, "It's such a wonderful organization." And soon there was the October tea, in which you go and can sign up and learn more about it. And I went and I signed up, and I've been there ever since.
Well, that's wonderful, and then you're enjoying, obviously, you're enjoying working with Sheila.
Yes, very much.
We know that we've. I understand that you are doing so many things, but let's start speaking. Let's start finding out a little more about the scholarship program that you have for students. Can you tell us more, Linda? Maybe you can tell me a little more about how do you select the students, who are the recipients, and how do you fundraise for it? I don't really want to disclose the sources, but just what is the process? Do you appeal to your members, or for donations, or do they come from the dues? Or
We have a nominating committee
Yes.
that meets, and the students are actually first selected, correct, Sheila, through the university.
Yes.
They make up the list of students who have a certain average
Yeah.
and
need some financial
need
help.
some financial help.
And there's an application that they fill out.
I see. Yeah.
And then from that process of meeting with them, a number of selected, and it's different every year.
Of course.
Yeah, it's different
Yes.
every year. And from that process, they're selected, and then our scholarships go to these students. And they really are so wonderful to meet because
Yes.
they are young and so enthusiastic and so intelligent, and they come to our October tea
I see.
and speak. They all tell about themselves, what they're majoring in, what they'd like to do with their future. They bring their families, and it's a lovely program, and everyone is very impressed by these wonderful young people. So
How many a year, approximately, how many student scholarships do you give?
it varies, right, Sheila?
Yes, it does vary. The criteria is the same for 3 of our scholarships, but our newest one is a scholarship for a student who is familiar or working with the arts.
I see.
So it's usually juniors and seniors who receive the scholarships, but we also have reentry scholarships for women who may not have graduated and have been out in the workforce or have had family, and then they come back to school. So this is a good way to help them
Very
finish
much
their
so.
education.
Very much so. Yes. Yes. So this is one of your programs, of course, and then you have, as we mentioned before, some specialized group. Can you give us, maybe Linda? Can you give us some examples of the interest groups? I don't remember exactly how you call them.
Well,
but I think there's
they used to be
interest
called sections,
sections.
but now we're calling them interest groups or
interest groups.
sections.
That's the word I was looking for. Interest groups.
And
yes.
they are wonderful because we go anywhere from having groups of bird watchers to antique collecting to walking to yoga to photography to gardening. There's a section for everyone, and if it doesn't exist, we tell them to start a new one,
Okay.
which is how they often come about.
Yes.
And they are either monthly, weekly, and this is where smaller groups of women from our large group get together, they meet each other, they get to know each other very well, share their knowledge and learn
Yes.
together. They are wonderful, wonderful groups.
And do you, Sheila, do you oversee these groups, or are they pretty independent with a group leader and they do that?
They have a group leader, but we have 2 people who are co-chair the interest sections, and the 2 people are on the board, but they oversee all of the sections and try to make sure that people who want to be in one, if they can't get into one because it's filled to capacity, then they just start another one.
I see.
So we have about 40 of them.
Lovely.
And
And when is a good time to sign up? Is that the fall tea, when you sign up for these groups, or can you sign up anytime
Well, there's
once you're a member?
the fall tea, but there's also a newcomers welcome
I see. In the
That-
fall.
in the fall.
Yes.
It's one of the first things. So newcomers to the community can come, learn about us.
Yes.
Here's one of our brochures.
this is a brochure that the newcomers will,
Put it up a little more.
Okay.
There we go.
which the newcomers will see, and in it tells about all our different programs and sections, and newcomers will have their own little group,
Yes.
and they will have a mentor who is already in Farm Circle to help them get adjusted that first year so they can see everything that,
Yeah.
all the opportunities that are there for them. we feel that we provide so much in our programming and our interest sections that we provide something for everyone.
Yes. Well, we just talked about this 500 members, and I must add that, again, all this information is on the website, and also the fact that the membership dues are very reasonable and for everything that is happening in the group. So it's really a wonderful way, and it is affordable to everybody, which is nice.
Yes.
You know, sometimes country clubs are very expensive, the dues are very high, but in your case, it's affordable, and I think this is credit goes to the circle that allows everybody to come who wants to join, to do that. And before I forget, I would like to, you brought a book about the history. Could you hold it up and tell us a little more about what this book is all about? It's called The Circle.
The Circle.
Yes.
And here's 3 of the original women who were the
they were quite handsome. Yes. And what is that building? Is that where the circle was housed?
That's the beginning. That's where it started.
It started.
This was compiled by one of our members, Judy Wydick, who put in a lot of time and research. This is 95 years of our history, but she is now working on completing it with the last 5 years, so the first 100 years will all be documented.
That's fantastic. Is this book for sale?
It's not for sale, but it's a donation.
It's a donation.
You can give a donation, and it goes to our scholarship fund.
Oh, and where can one get it?
Usually by joining.
Oh, by joining.
Sure, if you join and then you want to make
can't get it if you don't join. Then
if you give a small donation, then the book is yours.
Well, that's lovely. Yeah. Well, you should maybe make just a suggestion available to the avid reader or the logo books or something like that.
I'm thinking maybe they do have a
they do have
too. I think it's not just for our members. I think anybody who would like to read about the history, it's also the history of Davis.
Of course.
What was happening at the time and all through these years.
And the university.
And the university.
And the university.
So
I know there are many books about the university, but this is certainly another facet of the history of Davis and Davisville and Davis UC Davis and all that. Well, that's lovely. Now, we've summarized 100 years. Now we're back on to 2014. What are, and I'm going to start with Linda and jump in if you need to.
Sure.
What does the future hold? In other words, what are your goals and your missions for the next few years? Are you going to expand? Are you going to change the rules? Give us some highlights of what you're going to do.
Highlights. We continue always to support the university and our students. I mean, that's
good news.
That is what comes first and always will. And always looking for new members, certainly.
Yes.
And we hope to perhaps have more programs in the evenings.
Yeah.
So that maybe women who work during the day could come in the evenings.
That's an excellent idea.
And make it available to more people that way.
Yes.
And for spouses and significant others to join if we have more programs.
Yes.
But the main, really, we're not going to change, I don't think, ever from what it started out, and that is to help the university and the students.
Yes. And I believe you have field trips as well, don't you? Can you tell us about one that is interesting?
We have wonderful field trips, and a lot of it is to learn more about the heritage of our surroundings of Davis. We take wine trips. We go to
Napa.
botanical gardens, to Napa. We go
San Francisco,
San
perhaps?
Francisco, and shopping or just eating out. So there's some wonderful trips on the buses. And
you organize, I mean, the circle will organize.
They're so well organized. We have
Yes.
members of the program committee that are outstanding women. They do so much to please everyone and include everyone.
But
Everyone in the organization really
yes,
does a super
yes.
job.
Sheila, would you like to add something to what Linda said? Something that comes to mind that you'd like, maybe a wish list, if it's possible.
One of our most popular trips, which we do every other year, is we go into San Francisco for the Bouquets to Art
Oh, could you tell us
at the Art
about that?
Museum.
Oh, the art museum. Okay.
That is at the De Young.
Yes.
The women enjoy going because florists make up floral arrangements to look like paintings that are in the museum. And it's one of the programs that they really like.
Well, that sounds very nice, and I'm sure you have artists among the members.
Oh, also.
And
Many.
this brings us to what type of the makeup of your membership is: artist, academic.
All of that.
All of that.
All of that. It's very
Wide
diverse.
spectrum.
So diverse. We
Yes.
pride ourselves on the
Yes,
diversity of
yes.
our members.
Yes.
You do not have to belong to or have an association with the university. You can be a community member. I am a community member, and I was able to join. As long as you have a supportive feeling of the university
Great.
and what they do
Yes.
for the students,
Good point.
then this is a good place, a
Yes.
good organization to
Good
belong
point.
to.
Yes. Well, I'm afraid we're out of time. It went very quickly. So once again, Sheila Beyer and Linda Ziskind, thank you so much. You really do a fantastic job for our community, and thank you so much for coming. And of course, thank you to all of you watching from home. And of course, if you'd like to see this program again, you can go to davismedia.org, and while you're there, you might want to check some of our other interesting programs. So thank you all, and I would like to particularly mention our fantastic tech crew, Mary, Kirk, Asata, and of course Diane. So thank you for watching from all of us here at Davis Media Access. See you next time.